Get higher, baby. Get higher, baby. Get higher, girl. Hey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Knights of the Pageless Library. I am Bo Knight, and with me, as always, is Ryan Knight, and we are a little podcast dedicated to reviewing audiobooks. And today we are taking a look at The Handmaid's Tale, written by Margaret Atwood and read by Claire Danes.
Yeah, that's right. So I didn't realize while we were listening to this that this is part of a series. So if
It
anybody's
is?
curious, there is two books in this series. So I didn't know that until right now.
Huh.
Um, and we should also mention right off the bat, the version we listened to is off of Audible, and like Bo said, it's just The Handmaid's Tale. There is also one that is a special edition that was released more recently, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was like coinciding with the show release.
Okay, yeah, because it came out in 2017. Yeah, so the one we are listening to is just narrated by Claire Danes. So if you get this and you're like, well, there's a whole bunch of people narrating this or a cast of people, that is not the one we listened to. We just listened to the one narrated by Claire Danes
Yeah, the old
from,
standard version.
yeah, from 2012. So let's see. Yeah, the book, like I said, the audiobook was published in 2012. The original book, Handmaid's Tale, was published in 1985 by Margaret Atwood.
Yeah, and I don't really listen to a lot of Margaret's work, like
No,
just
I
like
think,
skimming through her stuff.
I mean, I think she is a very like she obviously has a lot of work out there, but I think if gun to my head, were like, tell me something Margaret Atwood's written, I'd be like, Handmaid's Tale would be the only one I could come up with. So,
Yeah. So I think, but I do think she likes to write like these novels about women, it looks like.
okay. Um, and so this is considered a it says literature and fiction and a genre fiction. I would also put this under the veil of dystopia.
And
Um,
alternate history.
yes, and alternate history would be uh, a good tag, I think, for this as well. So, um, yeah, I don't want to say much more about it than that at this point because I don't want to really give anything away. Um, so Claire Danes, what did you think? How did she do in this?
I think she does a good job.
I personally don't know if you could find a better voice for
Okay,
this.
I thought you were gonna be like, I personally think it was trash. I was like, oh, okay, oh, geez.
No, I thought she did an amazing job, to be
I think
honest.
she does a great job of like capturing kind of the whole feeling of the book in her delivery, if that makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah. Because before we get too far into this, if I had to pick like one word to describe this book, it would be heavy. Like this I don't really even know like how to explain this. Like this book is pretty hardcore.
It's yeah, like it's so scary too. Like
Yeah.
and just the way that it's the world that they're in is terrifying to me.
And to me, for more reasons than one, and I will discuss that as after we get into the spoilers, because I think there is also uh some very subtle things in here that like from my interpretation could be um like basically the world they live in is only because that's the world they see. But you know what I mean? Because they're isolated and locked in. So the things they are being told are probably not what's really going on outside of there. So,
Right.
but we as the listener, I mean, you don't really get to know that. So, and for anybody who's wondering, yes, the Handmaid's Tale show series that is based off of this book. And I started watching that a little bit of the first season. And I will just say right now that the show is it's a rendition for sure, and it stays pretty true to the source material, but they definitely take a lot of creative liberties in the show. So just be aware of that.
Okay. So a Handmaid's purist might not like it.
Right. So this book clocks in right at 11 hours, which is a pretty good listen, actually. I'd put
Yeah.
that as.
Felt long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll get into that here in a second. So let's see, how much does this book currently cost? This one is $24.95.
Okay.
So you get a lot of content here though for that price if you were to pay full price for it.
Right.
Okay, so the big question, is this easy to follow?
No. It is incomprehensible at some points.
Yes, I agree.
And it might be a lot simpler, I think, if I was reading it, because I think it would help with like the way the sentences are structured. It would be a lot simpler to read.
Sure, because some of them flow right together, even though it's
Yeah.
literally from one, like, should be talking about one thing, and then it flows into another sentence that's talking about something completely different in a different time.
And
But
your only hint about that being in a different time is the names that are used.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be really confusing.
For sure. And one thing I have to give the show credit for is they do a good job of it makes that stuff a lot easier, obviously, because you're seeing it instead of just hearing one person read those things. So it does a really good job of bringing that stuff to life and making it a lot easier to understand. Would you say this book is easy listening?
Also, no. You have to pay so much attention.
Yeah, I would say so. You have to. I would say the thing that's easy listening about it is that Claire Danes does such a good job reading it. It's very gripping, like, but the subject matter and the content of this book is very heavy to me. Like, I turned it off several times while I was listening to it because I was like, all right, I got to listen to something a little happier for a little bit.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely understand that.
yeah. And for anybody who doesn't know, so the reason we're saying like dystopia too with this is that this is like a quick summary of this would basically be that in this alternate history, some things have gone down where basically this religious order has taken over, as far as we understand, the United States.
Yeah, it's the Republic of Gilead.
Right. And essentially, there's also a problem in the world with infertility, and there's not enough children being born, and so like the human race is dying out, or at least that's what they're being told. And the handmaids, whom we are following, we are mostly following of Fred. Her sole purpose in life is to make more people. And the way they do that is they basically imprison them and just force them to have sex with their higher up military people in order to provide more children.
Well, that wasn't her only purpose in life. This is like we are witnessing this in like the transition of like going from normal life to this Republic of Gilead. Like this is very kind of recent.
Yeah. So yes, and that actually was weird that when I first started listening to this, because I was under the assumption, I was like, man, this has been going on for hundreds of years.
Yeah, they do make it seem like that, but it's not that way.
Yeah, but no, you find out it's only been going on for like 8 years or so.
Yeah, not very
like
long.
it's a pretty short amount of time. So yes, I should say you're right. This is her purpose in life at this point after this Republic of Gilead took over the United States. They basically had a full governmental overthrow and everything, and they took over. And so you don't really find this out till the end of the book. So a little bit of spoilers here, but these are all it's sort of like a found footage almost type of thing as well that we are like listening to. It's kind of interesting.
And I had to look it up. I was like, wait a minute, this shit didn't really happen, right?
Oh, oh my gosh. I would hope
Well,
not.
just because the way they set that up at the end, it was like
Mhm.
kind of convincing. It's like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, because doesn't it say something like history notes or something like that?
It's someone giving a lecture about the Handmaid's Tale stuff they
Yeah.
found. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, hang on.
Yeah, it's pretty meta. Like they, it's like it's a story within a story. It's kind of cool.
Because I was like, maybe this happened in like a weird freaking cult thing I didn't hear about.
Yeah, you never know, man.
Yeah, you don't know.
It's very clear too. Like I get a little bit of like 1984 vibes off of this.
Oh, a little very strong
Right.
1984 vibes.
I also would get. This is kind of what I was talking about too. Like I would get some Hunger Games as well. Like if anybody's familiar with that, in the sense that like in that they are being told one thing when that's clearly not what's going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and yeah. And I get a little like Fahrenheit 451 too.
Oh sure, yeah, that's another great example. Yeah,
Yeah, just
for the
super-
same reason.
Yeah, because
Like-
like information is being controlled.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That's a much more elegant way to say it than I've been saying it.
What do you want to recommend? You recommended this thing or what?
I would definitely recommend this book. However, if you are squeamish, if you are like one of these people of our generation who can't handle, like if you have to be in a safe space at all times, you might want to skip this one.
Yeah,
Because it's gonna push your boundaries like
if
a lot.
you can't handle oppression, then don't listen to this. You're
Oh,
not
yeah,
gonna get anything.
Oppression to like its highest degree.
Yeah,
like-
basically treating people like objects at this point.
Exactly. I mean, and it's not only the crazy part to me, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but it's not only the handmaids that are treated that way. It's literally everyone that's not part of like the military. So
Yeah,
and it'd be interesting to see this world expanded upon. Like I like this little glimpse you get of this world, but I'd be real curious to see what goes on beyond what the handmaids can tell you. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And how much of it's even true?
Right. Exactly. So what do you think? What's your recommendation?
I like this book, but I do, like I said before, I find it a little incomprehensible at some points.
Sure.
And like if you were doing like any sort of complicated task while listening to this, I think you could miss like 4 sentences and kind of miss some like important world building things without really knowing that you missed them. I will recommend this one, but I think this is a book that like you like will come back to multiple times and be like, oh, I understand a little bit more and a little bit more each time.
Yes, absolutely. And I would definitely say this is like if you don't listen to audiobooks, don't pick this as your first
Yeah, this
audiobook.
is not a starter book for
No,
sure.
no. I would say this is a advanced listener, if that makes any sense. Because like, yeah, you have to be paying attention because it switches times a lot. Like sometimes
Like
she's in the
mid-sentence.
present. Yeah, sometimes she's in the present. Sometimes she's 5 days in the past. Sometimes she's back to now. Sometimes she's 8 years in the past. Like
Well, it's like we're following her train of thought the whole time.
well, that's sort of what I meant by like at the end, we find out we are technically listening to like a recording that
Right.
someone had recorded of the events happening to them at the time. So yes, you're exactly right. You're listening basically to someone just talk. I mean, you know, kind of like we are right now. You're just listening to someone coming up with these things as they happen or as they're thinking them.
And I do like how this like the world of Gilead is like revealed to us. It's like snippets because they don't just dump it on you all in the beginning. Like this is how the world is.
No,
You just
it's
kind of
actually
get like little bits and pieces.
yeah,
the
which I
whole
thought was
time.
kind of cool. So should we go ahead and pass the spoiler wall? I mean, you're basically getting 2 recommendations from us on this one. So if you even think this might be up your alley, definitely go check it out and then come back here and hear what we have to say about it.
Yeah, please come back.
Please do. And if you love it, you hate it, you just want to tell us anything, please email us. kotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us.
Yeah, please email us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so like we said, this is all told from first person, from June or of Fred, this handmaid. And like you said, Bo, it jumps around a lot. Sometimes we are what's happening to her at the time. Sometimes she's talking about in the past, what happened leading up to the events of where she is in that moment. And I started listening to this for a second time. I was only able to get about halfway through it before we did this. But the second time around, it makes way more sense. Like a lot more.
See, I only made it about halfway through the second time too, because this book it's kind of hard to listen to, but like in a good way, but it's just like depressing.
Well,
it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, it is pretty depressing. It's really dense. As far as like, and I mean, man, I would be hard pressed to find another book that actually stirred up so many like emotions in me while listening to it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Just there was some points where I found myself like cringing or wincing about the things she's talking about. I'm just like, oof. Because it scares me, man. Dystopia stuff like this scares me because this is something I could actually see happening.
Yeah, very real, actually.
Yeah. When it walks that line, because it's not like when we're talking about like Titanborn, right? Like that's for sure sci-fi. Obviously, that stuff doesn't really bother me because that's not really, it ain't gonna happen in my lifetime at least. This is something that has the potential to happen in our lifetimes. Like it's not that far off.
Yeah. So the book opens with her, like, I don't even know what to call it, like her new station, I guess, as like the handmaid to this commander, and we like find out that he hasn't been able to produce any children, which is always blamed on the handmaids, if that's possible.
It's always blamed on women for these people. It's no longer men's fault that there's infertility. It's only barren women.
And she only gets 3 chances, right? Before they just I wasn't clear if they get rid of her or they like demote her to a different station.
Well, it said that their stations at one point it says their stations are 2 years.
I know, but she only gets so long, like if she doesn't get pregnant, that they would get rid of her.
Is it the 2 years though? Because she's coming from a previous station and she clearly didn't get pregnant at that one either. So
yeah, I think she's on her 3rd and final chance.
Oh, I see what you're saying. She gets 3 stations. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
And I guess we should talk about what they have to wear too. They wear like basically fully covered clothes. The handmaids wear red, and they have like their hood up all the time, and they have like wings like that kind of protrude out from that to limit their view and to make it hard to see their face.
It's like horse blinders.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect way to put it. They got horse blinders on, so you can't really see anything, which doesn't sound that insidious, but it so is.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
They are not supposed to be seeing and looking around.
Yeah, you can't look around.
Other people are not supposed to be seeing them.
Yeah.
I mean, their sole purpose, the handmaids, is to bear children. Period. That's it.
Because some like natural disasters or war stuff had happened that like polluted the water and air.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but not only that, and again, this was in like 1985, so not too terribly long ago. They also talk about the industrial use of chemicals on our food sources. So when I heard that, I was like, oh dang, like that's a thing. I mean, that's happening right now. So
it's not limiting the population enough.
Well, no. Oh, if anything, it's morphing the population, but this could still be a future that exists.
Yeah, and so
Uh,
the children that even if they have children, they're often like malformed and not like necessarily like having Down syndrome or something like that, but like they have like rat faces.
yeah, or like, uh, yeah, I couldn't believe that. Yeah, they are literal like mutants
Yeah.
sometimes when they are born, which they immediately discard of those children.
And if the handmaid has one of those, right, she's just done.
She's immediately done. Yes. Um, and we should also mention that the commander is married, but his wife is unable to have children, which is
Right. So
part of this society.
that's what these handmaids are like for.
Exactly.
They come into like a married couple and they have sex like right when she's like peak ovulation. And when
Yep.
she's having sex with the commander, she leans back on his wife.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And his wife holds her arms because that's basically what's going on is the handmaid is trying to have a baby for these people. But it's nothing so noble as like she's just a surrogate. She is being forced into it.
I don't want to butcher like a lot of this book is like gossip, and it's hard to explain a lot of the characters because a lot of them don't have names. They're like from such and such house or like belong to, like, how do they say it? I can't remember.
Well, like her name is of Fred.
Yeah, of.
And it's hard. It's also really hard because a lot of those things aren't explained until the very, very end of the book in
Right.
that history part we're talking about. And even then, the information is unreliable. They say as much because they say, like, her name is June. She says her name was June, and her husband was Luke, and they had a daughter. But in the history part, it's saying we couldn't find anybody of those names that would match this description. Therefore, they think that the names are changed by the storyteller.
Right.
And so none of the information is really reliable in this story, which is a really interesting concept to me.
And throughout the whole book, you're getting like snippets of how things used to be, which is just like basically normal life. Most of it is like her hanging out with her college friend all the time and like just like smoking cigarettes and like drinking and like talking about, like I guess like the nature of like boys and men and stuff like that.
Sure.
And yeah, it's all like drip fed, like so slow throughout the whole book. You just get like little bits and pieces about her old life.
Yeah, and again, so like it's in the beginning, it also talks about like when she first arrived at the Red Center, right, which was like a converted school where they teach these women how to become handmaids. And they are basically picked because she had a child from the time before, therefore they know she can have children.
Mm-hmm.
So, which already at that point was it was a hard thing to do even when she had her child before this all happened. So what I found interesting was like she's talking about the fact that they're like in a gymnasium, and then she immediately goes into like reminiscing about like the gymnasium and what it was like to be at school and some of those things. So it's like you said, it's very disjointed because the location and the times and stuff change that quickly. As quickly as if someone were telling you a story, they might be like, yeah, I went over here and I went to the store the other day and I saw Fred. Oh, did I tell you Fred got another job? Like,
yeah,
it changes that fast. So it's hard to listen to in that way, but I actually kind of like it once I started to understand what was going on.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was probably really hard to write that way.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, unless she was literally just writing her thoughts as they came to her, like, and then what? And then what would happen? And then what? And this book, this would be very hard. Like, we're going to kind of give you an overall idea of the book, but it'd be very hard to go beat by beat because it jumps back and forth so much. So we're we're probably gonna skip over and skim a lot of things. So
Yeah.
we're just human. So
One of the first like big things right when she goes to this place is that they help that lady give birth.
yeah, you mean like, yeah, so she, like, we get the her and the commander, like you said, when he's doing his duty with her, we get that little bit apart. Oh, and I should mention, it's probably late to mention this, but if you're someone who's very prude and like you don't like talking about like sex or anything about sex, do not listen to this,
Yeah, that's
because
true.
it's pretty much all they talk about the whole book. Like it's all about like sex and body parts and things like that. Even though it's
Yeah.
so suppressed, that's actually what makes it, like, the handmaids are very suppressed from feeling like any sexual urges. However, like the way she talks all the time is it's basically all she thinks about all the time.
Yeah, she
So,
just like wants to be touched.
right. But not in the way obviously that they're forcing her to be.
Right. Because that's not intimate.
Right. So one of the things that happens is the one gal, Janine of Warren, she has birth. She gives birth to a baby. So what they do is they round up a bunch of handmaids and they bring them all to this house, and they bring a bunch of the wives there for the ceremony of her having this baby. And it's super weird because the wife of Warren, um, see, it's really confusing. Of Warren is the handmaid,
Yeah.
but that commander's wife, she also basically pretends like she is giving birth at the same time.
Yeah, but that's like part of the ritual, right? Like as far
Yeah.
as I understood.
And again, it can't be overemphasized enough either that all of this is super hardcore based on religious beliefs, why they do all of these things.
Right.
I mean, that can't be overstated enough, that that's like, it's like a cult almost that took over the United States, essentially.
Hang on, just because I'm having this thought and I feel like I'm gonna forget. One of the things I liked that they talked about the religion is like they call into this line that sets up like automatic prayers that just like go on a loop and you have to pay for them
Yeah,
to
like,
like for the god. Like that's hilarious to
oh
me.
my God. Yeah, you have to like go in a phone booth and like
Yeah.
put a quarter in it so that it will tell you a prayer.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my
Stupid as shit.
gosh. Dude, that's another reason I find this so scary though, is like something like that is not, I mean, it's not unfathomable to think
No.
something like that could happen. Um so see, I don't really know what else is like super notable, because essentially,
Well, she finds out too that her friend was at this same place previously, right?
well, she was there with her in the Red Center.
I know, but they got separated,
Yes.
and then
Be-
she came there before her, but she like finds stuff in her room that like leads her to believe that she was in her room.
oh, in the same, you mean where she's at?
Yeah.
For of Fred. Well, and a lot of what we're getting during this too is, this is where I get a lot of 1984 vibes off of this, is they're not allowed to really talk to each other, and they're definitely not supposed to talk to each other about anything other than like their religious stuff. So throughout the book, she's getting a lot of like hints or
Mhm.
whisperings or things that stuff on the outside of this compound they live in is not necessarily what they're being told. And that's what I meant. Like, even the parts where she does kind of get out and see a little bit of what's going on, we don't know beyond that if it's completely different than what they're being told is happening,
Right.
And that's like the 1984 thing, oh, we're at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with East Asia. It like those kind of things I feel like are happening in this book as well.
And I can't remember if it's now. I think it might be a little bit later, but she like finds out that her friend like escaped. She just
Yeah.
took the clothes of one of the, what do they call them? Oh my god.
The aunts.
Yeah, the aunts. She took one of
So
the clothes of the aunts and just like walked right out the front.
yeah, yeah, which was super freaking baller. Um, and then she ends up meeting up with her again later in the story, because one of the ways the story progresses is that at one point her commander sends his like right hand man to find of Fred, and he wants to meet with her.
In his
Not
secret room.
Yeah, and not like, because basically the only times she interacts with him is when he's having sex with her, and
Mhm.
they don't talk, they don't do anything other than that. So this is very strange for him to want to meet with her. So she starts going to meet with him, and all he wants to do is literally be a normal person with her. Like he wants to play Scrabble with her the first time that they meet up. So she's like super thrown off by this,
Mhm.
because as far as she knows, this never happens. Um, and doesn't she like reveal to one of the other people that, or one of the other handmaids, that he wants to meet with her, right, in secret? And
They find out about it on their own.
is that what it is? But one of the
Mhm.
other handmaids is immediately like, "Oh, I bet he just wants to have kinky sex with you."
Yeah.
And so she assumes that's all that it is. If ever the commander wants to meet with his handmaid privately, that's all it ever is. But this guy's a little bit different. Like that's not what he calls her there for.
Yeah, I mean, he actually seems like a solid dude.
He definitely comes across in the story as not enjoying this stuff any more than she does. You know what I mean?
And I think it's kind of telling too that like he doesn't even really know the rules that are put on the handmaids.
Right.
Because yeah, like he tries to give her like lotion at one point, and she's like, I can't keep that with me. You'd have to hold on to it. Like they search my room.
Right. Yeah, and she's like, I can't. She's like, I could put it on, but if it smells, they'll smell it on me and
Yeah,
know I have it. Um, yeah, and she gets kind of pissed off at him at one point because he has like no idea how she's treated.
yeah,
Um, but basically they continue to kind of have these little meetings, and he gets to know her well, or she gets to know him better and better, and basically he's just a normal person. Um, and essentially, he's only going along with what's going on too, because we should mention, if you're caught doing anything that is against the rules, they just kill you.
yeah,
So, or they torture you. You know,
yeah.
classic stuff.
And they have like public trials where they like punish people for their crimes and they like list their crimes.
Yes, and they have like public executions.
Yeah.
They also will kill people. Like so, say somebody was, what do they call it? A gender traitor. If you're gay,
Mm-hmm.
so they would like hang you, and then they put a bag over your head, and then they also put like a sign on your chest that would tell everybody what you did, why you
Yeah.
were killed. Like some of them would have like uh, a fetus on them because they were a doctor.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, because they did like fertility stuff back in the day.
right. Uh, yeah. So super, just like you know, they don't put up with anybody's, like, if you're not following the book to a T, they'll just kill you. They'll get rid of you.
Yeah.
So that's why all these people just fall in line with what they are told to do.
Yeah, and it's never really clear like who is really in charge.
No, because all we ever hear about is commanders. And apparently where she's at, there's a lot of them.
Well, and she's like actually like the handmaid to a pretty powerful commander from what I understood.
Right. Even though when she goes to the birthing of Warren's commander, because she makes a point that of Warren's commander's house is much more like elaborate than theirs. So he
Right.
must be even more important, even though they just call them commanders. That's it.
Yeah, and we don't actually even like figure out what the commanders do at all.
No. Um. So basically, what this ends up culminating into, right, is that the commander ends up taking her out of
Yeah.
the compound, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he takes her to essentially like a bar, the way I understand it.
A bar like / brothel.
Exact. Okay. Yes. Um. And he has to like sneak her out of the city which is really bizarre. He has to sneak her out. He can take her through the first 2 gates because she is dressed in his wife's clothes. So his wife would be allowed to go beyond the first 2 gates, but even his wife is not allowed to go beyond the 3rd gate, which I found bizarre. So he has to like sneak her out of the city, take her to this brothel, and basically there she sees just a bunch of military dudes and a bunch of women. Like one is dressed like a Playboy bunny. They're wearing like super skimpy outfits and stuff like that. And yeah, you're right. It's basically just a brothel essentially.
And she meets her old friend there too.
Yeah, Moira.
Moira, that's right.
Moira. So Moira is the one who escaped. Yeah, she took the aunt's clothing and she escaped. And we should mention too, like I find this super disgusting. So like you started to say that the handmaids all wear red, the wives all wear blue, the aunts all wear like tan, and the oh gosh, what are the maids called?
Well, I can't remember.
Oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? They say it all the time. Anyways, they all wear gray. So, and then usually the men or the military men wear black. So it's very, very easy to see just by like glancing down the street who is who by what they are wearing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very obvious.
And then I think it mentions that like so like if the commanders do give birth, like if they have a daughter, the daughter will wear white until she grows up and gets married. Yeah, so then this is where it really takes an interesting turn when she meets Moira too, because this is where she starts to kind of talk more in like because what does she say? She says, I have a hard time even telling this part of the story.
Yeah.
Like you really find out that this is someone just telling their thoughts versus like, I don't know, us being just inside their head or something like that. And she tells a story of like what happened to Moira after she escaped. She like basically everybody's trying to escape to get to Canada because apparently Canada doesn't do any of this nutty shit that America is doing at this point. So
yeah, but she didn't actually get away.
No, because she got caught.
Mm-hmm.
And basically your options are to kill you. You go to live with the colonies, which we don't really find anything out about that.
But it supposedly sucks.
Yeah, the way I kind of understood it, yeah, is it's basically just like all like people just live in like squalor there. Like they starve in the streets and stuff like that in the colonies.
Probably.
So yeah, so you don't want to do that either. Or she had the option to come back here and work at this brothel, essentially.
Yeah, and they make her sterile too.
Yeah, that's right. They fix her now so that because Moira was a handmaid, so because she had a child from before this all happened too. So yeah, her punishment is basically to become sterile then at that point. And then I mean the wrap up of this is that does she goes back, right? And then a black vehicle shows up for her, right? Is that where it ends?
The book? Oh no.
No. Just the main story part.
No, we're still skipping a little bit where she has sex with that other guy a bunch.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. With
well, because she goes to the doctor, right? And the doctor thinks that the commander's infertile because he's never been able to have a child with any of the handmaids he's had.
Right. Oh, that's right.
And the doctor offers to have sex with her to make it seem like, oh, he got you pregnant. But she refuses. She's like, that's not a good idea.
Well, yeah, because if she gets pregnant, then they know, like, she's basically safe then. Once you get pregnant, you're basically safe at that point. They're called Marthas. That's what the maids are called.
Marthas. Okay.
That's right. So the doctor offers to get her pregnant, and then the commander's wife, right, is the one who suggests she has sex with Nick. Is that his name?
That's
Nick?
right. Yeah.
because his wife obviously knows too that he is clearly incapable of having children. So she thinks if Fred has sex with Nick, who is the commander's right-hand man, which Fred was already interested in, we find out like throughout the book that she has like a lot of sexual like tension with him every time she sees him.
Mm-hmm.
Then basically it'll fix things for both of them, because it'll fix things also for his wife, because then she doesn't have to sit there while he has sex with this other woman on top of her. Like, it's really bizarre. So yeah, then she ends up having sex with Nick, but then she actually ends up enjoying it, right? So then she
Mhm.
continuously sneaks out and does that with him.
But yeah, then she ends up getting caught.
But that's where the main part of the book ends, right?
Well, yeah, the people from Mayday come and take her away.
Right. Because she thought she got caught, like to the point where she was going to be like executed, right?
Well, Nick actually saves her, as far as I understand.
Yeah, because Nick is part of that organization, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the Mayday organization is like the resistance organization, essentially. Yeah, because at first she thinks they're people who are there to take her away to either like imprison her or execute her or whatever. But yeah, she's essentially saved by these people of this Mayday group.
Yeah. And yeah, that is where like the main story, main story kind of just abruptly stops.
It's super jarring how quickly it stops. But then you get this little histories part, which I thought it was going to be like the author telling us like what she based this book on.
Me too. It seemed like a real thing.
Yeah, but you're exactly right. It's more of a like found footage type of thing in a lecture of them discussing this story we just listened to. Like, these people talking now are discussing the story we just heard. But it was like found tapes, right? That they found.
Yeah, like cassettes, I think.
And this little lecture is so far in the future that they said they had to like have this machine specially built to play these tapes so they could even listen to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're basically talking about like what happened during the Gilead period of the United States, and the bizarre things they were doing, and they're trying to figure out who this handmaid was, but they cannot figure out exactly who she was, so they don't know if they could ever find her in the history books.
Yeah. And yeah, like you said earlier, like the names are changed and stuff like that, so they're basically never able to find who this was.
Yeah, like I said, all the information we just heard in the book is technically unreliable.
Yeah. Very true.
Super interesting concept though.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting, and like it's really, really dense. There is a lot here.
And it's heavy. Like I said, there's parts where I was like kind of uncomfortable listening to it. I was like, oh damn. I mean, and I'm a male, I'm a man, and for me to be uncomfortable listening to the things they were doing to these women is just, it's written very, very well to bring that emotion across.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good. I might have to check out the show.
I think so. The one thing, like I said, that I thought, as far as I've seen in the show, is they do a pretty good job of bringing this stuff to life. So it actually clarified a few things for me. So that is the good part about it. The thing I didn't really like about it is like I said, they take a lot of creative liberties, because like any show, they have to have more information or more things to talk about than just what happens to Fred. So you
Right.
also get things that are happening to multiple characters at the same time. So, but I would say overall, I think the show complements the book very well.
Well, I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. You got anything else on this one?
No, I think I'm good. Handmaid's Tale, it's pretty good. Check it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And please feel free to let us know what you think. We would greatly appreciate that. Again, that's kotpl.pod@gmail.com is the easiest way to get a hold of us.
I would love an angry email about us being positive on something.
Yeah.
Actually, this book is terrible. Oh, I would love that.
Oh man. I'd like to hear the reason behind it too.
Me too. Well, that's what I mean.
Nothing would surprise me at this point in
I
this day and age.
What are we doing next time, Ryan?
So hopefully we'll be able to wrap up Samurai Champloo. That should be the very next thing that
Yeah.
comes out.
But the book.
And then after that, the next book we are going to be doing is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury.
Mhm.
So look forward to that at some point.
Yeah, and look forward to something super special coming up that I will not spoil, but I'm so excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like if the people who listen to this actually listen to the books are going to be shocked.
I hope so. I really do.
So on that bombshell, we hope to catch you guys in the next